You're comfortable to start.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. I think we'll start. Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum. Welcome to this webinar today, hosted by Institut Kepimpinan Pembangunan Kedah ILD. We are very thrilled to have you join us today for this informative and engaging session that will be presented later. My name is Sharifah Syakila and I'm from Akademi Pengajian Bahasa, UiTM Kedah, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. During the next 1.5, about 2 hours, we will hear from Madam Jacqueline Chuah, who will be sharing her expertise on the topic of IELTS. Our goal for this webinar is to provide you with valuable insights and practical tips that you can apply for this English test. As we move on through this session, we encourage you to, of course, ask questions through the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat not just here on Google Meet, but also through Facebook and YouTube. So however, questions will only be answered at the end of the presentation later. So just ask away and share your opinions as well, if you have any. I will do my best to keep track of everything. Without wasting any more time, let's get started. I would like to introduce our speaker, Madam Jacqueline Chuah, or as we like to call her, Jackie. She is a senior lecturer of Academy of Language Studies, UiTM Kedah. She has had more than 25 years of English language teaching experience at tertiary level, and since 2008, she has been actively involved in preparing IELTS test takers for the test, through talks and also through workshops, and also webinars. Without further ado, let's now invite Madam Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Kila, Sharifah Syakila, Puan Sharifah Syakila, who is fondly known as Kila at our department, for the introduction. And thank you for being the moderator for this session. And to all of you who are here with us this morning, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for taking your time off from your busy schedule, and also in this holy month of Ramadan to join my session. Right, so like what Kila has mentioned just now, I have been involved in preparing test takers for IELTS since 2008. It's been a long time, and over here I of course, within the span of how many years? More than 15 years. We are still being we still need to upgrade ourselves and update ourselves in terms of the latest development in IELTS test, because regularly they're changing the formats, they're changing, adding some new things. So even though you might have taken the test some time back, when you plan, if you plan to do the test, let's say, in the near future, then you might notice that there might be some changes in the structure of the test, whether it's the administration of the test or even the test format itself. So in this session, in these 2 hours, I'll try to share with you some of the important things, important information that you need to know before you sign up for the test, or if you would like to prepare yourself for the test in the near future. And if there is any question, like what Puan Kila said, you can forward it to, you can just type it in the comment box, or if you're here live with us on Google Meet, then you can just ask me right away during the Q&A session. Right, so let me just run through with you the outline of today's talk, just very briefly, so that you can also help me to keep tab of time. If I exceed the time, Kila, just give me a buzz. All right. I'm trying to keep everything within this 2 hours. So I'm going to use about 10 minutes to just briefly tell you about the structure of IELTS test, what it is, and also the general information more general information about IELTS test itself. And then I will spend another 15 minutes talking about the format and preparation for listening, the listening section and also reading section. So in between, if you really need a break, you let me know. If you don't need a break, if you feel like you still can go on without any break, I will just continue for another 15 minutes on the writing section and speaking section. It's going to be quite intensive, but I hope because I've always how should I say? I've always aimed to maximize the webinar time, right? So if it is not so much fun, I'm so sorry, because test has never been fun anyway. And I'm sure all of you are here with certain purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't join something called Tips for IELTS. I assume that most of you here have certain plan to do the test, or at least to get to know, so that you can share with your friends later. So whatever purpose is, I'll try my best to share with you whatever that I know, right? And the last 10 minutes, we will reserve it for Q&A session. Okay, so this is the brief outline of today's session. So let's start with what is IELTS. But first of all, I would like to just share with you something about IDP education. Because I work quite a lot with IDP education, so I'm also using this. In fact, this material is from IDP education, so I would like to use this opportunity also to inform you, or to share with you, that IDP education is one of the major IELTS test providers, together with British Council. So if, let's say, you need to do the test and you find that IDP is more convenient for you, or they have ready slots for you to do the test, you can always consider that, besides British Council, right? And what is IELTS? Basically, the name IELTS comes from International English Language Testing System, and it is the most popular English test for study, work, and migration. So for whatever purpose you need to do the test, you need to know which module that you need to take, because there are two different modules for different purposes. So it is very important for you to refer to the IELTS administrator from the test providers to check which module you need to take, or another option is to read through the requirements of your own application to whichever organization, to look at the modules that you need to take, right? So I'll talk more about that later. So basically, IELTS is a 4-skill English language test. There are many other similar tests available. IELTS is one of the very popular ones. Of course, such tests actually, whichever test that you need to do, you need to look at also the regional requirements. Certain parts of the world require you to do IELTS, certain parts of the world require you to do TOEFL. So you have to check that as well, right? But so far, IELTS is one of the English tests that is widely accepted globally. Okay. So in this test, you will be assessed in terms of your listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills. Over here, speaking says that includes a face-to-face speaking test to see whether you communicate effectively in English. But ever since the pandemic, IELTS is gradually moving into virtual or video conferencing speaking tests. So there are options depending on the test providers. If I'm not mistaken, British Council now is fully providing VCS or video conferencing speaking. IDP, depending on the centers in Malaysia, some of them still provide face-to-face, but very limited slots. And like I said, the trend is it is moving gradually into video conferencing speaking test. Okay, so this is the latest. And what is not? Okay, so this is to actually clear the myths about IELTS test. It is not a test of British English or Australian English. It is in fact global Englishes. Okay, it is not about what type of English is being tested here, but rather your proficiency in using the language that is being assessed in this test. And also, it is not simply a test of grammar. It is more comprehensive and it is more functional, depending on the module. Okay, and there is no pass or fail if you haven't taken IELTS test or you haven't read about it. There's no pass or fail. It's just like your MOAD. It comes in bands. Okay, the ratings come in bands. And let's see whether we're going to look at the bands. Okay, I'm going to skip this. Before we look at the bands, probably we look at why you need IELTS test. Basically, if you are looking at furthering your studies, then most likely you will need to do IELTS, specifically if you plan to go overseas or you plan to apply for scholarships. If you plan to apply for scholarships, I think KPM, our Kementerian Pendidikan, still requires you to get an IELTS and to pass IELTS at certain band. If I'm not mistaken, should be 6.5 if you plan to apply for scholarships to further your studies. Am I right? Anyone here who plans to plan to apply for scholarships and you're now looking at IELTS and planning to take IELTS soon for that purpose? Okay, very good. So am I right? It is 6.5, is it? Yeah, so that is the minimum. That is the minimum band that you need to achieve if you wish to at least get accepted for consideration of scholarship provision by KPM, right? And that, of course, and other also depending on the programs that you are applying for, the requirements for your IELTS results will also be different. For example, if you're from medical field, I believe that the IELTS band requirement will be higher. It's usually 7.5 and above, or it could be 8. And the requirement can be quite stringent in a sense that it doesn't only require you, but this is strictly for medical, yeah. It does not only require you to get an overall band 7.5 or 8, but it wants a uniform band 7.5 for each and every section. That means you need to get 7.5 or 8 for all reading, speaking, listening, and writing. A flat 7.5 or 8. I can't remember. It's either 7.5 or 8. So that is the challenge if you're doing something on medical field, right? And like I said, for scholarship applications, or if you're looking at professional development, some of the requirements, some of these such applications actually need you to provide IELTS, especially if you, let's say, you want to do some specialization courses overseas, or certain specialization courses within international organizations. Even though it's locally, you still be required to provide them with your IELTS results. Okay. Yeah, for work purposes, and also mainly for work purposes and for study. But also, if you plan to migrate, then you might also need to have your IELTS results ready. Okay, because that adds on to your points or your so-called your marks for migration. Okay. Up to this point, is there any question? Is everything good? Is everything okay? Give me a thumb up if everything is okay. And let me see whether there's any question. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, people. That makes me less worried about talking to myself. Thank you. All right. So these are the basic steps. Yeah, you need to consider before signing up for the test. And it is not, sorry, I wouldn't use the negative. I would use the positive. It is a very costly test, right? Because of the exchange rates and also because of the demand, because of the commercial value of it. I think now it has gone up to almost close to 900, 800 over, close to 900 per test. Okay, per test. So it is very costly. Therefore, my advice to all potential test takers is always get yourself prepared before you actually commit yourself to the test, because this commitment doesn't come cheap, right? It costs you a lot of money, also not to mention the stress that you have to go through, right? So you need to prepare it in terms of, first, you need to know what is the band that you need to achieve. What is the score that you need to achieve? Prepare yourself towards that, and not just at the minimum. Always aim one band higher. Let's say you need to get 6.5, then you aim for 7 or 7.5 to be safe. Right? So prepare yourself enough for always one band higher than the required band. And also you need to know the format of the test, and this is the main reason why I choose to conduct this webinar, to share with all of you here the basic format of the basic format of the test, so that you know exactly what it is and you're more prepared for it. And of course, you need to prepare for the test. Like how? There are so many options now, because I think there are a lot of online materials available for you to do your own practice if you really don't have time to go and attend classes. There are, of course, some customized courses that are available in the market. Of course, you need to pay for it. And also depending on the time, whether you have the time, some are long-term, some are intensive. Like, for example, IDP, I'm promoting IDP workshops here. IDP actually provides monthly online workshop, once a month. It is a 3 half-day, if I'm not mistaken, because I have not been doing that for a long time, so I'm not too sure. It should be 3 half-day online workshop, or 2 half-day, I can't remember, whereby you just work on the get yourself prepared for the course within the shortest time possible. So this is usually advisable, say 1 or 2 months before your test date. 1 or 2 months before your test date, you should. If you have the time, you have the financial resources, and you feel that you're committed, you have the readiness to commit yourself to it, then yeah, go for it, because it is necessary to prepare yourself adequately for the test, so that you do not need to go through the stress and also the burden of doing it again, right? And once you have done that, or maybe concurrently, you can book a test date with the test providers. Like I said, in Malaysia, we have 2. We have British Council and we have IDP. So you can look at the availability of test dates from these 2 test providers, and also the mode. You can choose to do it. These days, you can do it either computer-based, even for the writing sections, reading, writing, listening, you can do it computer-based if you choose to. Or you choose to do it paper-based, you can. But I think there are some constraints in terms of that, because there will be limited seats, right? So it's always important for you to know when you have to submit your test results, because test results will only be generated and you will receive the test results about 2 weeks after your test. So you do not want to cut it too thin that it doesn't give you enough time to send out your results to your to whichever organization that you're applying to. Okay? Right? Okay, so yeah. And like I said, you need to decide. I'm slightly behind time now. Okay, you have to decide. There are 2 modules here. There are 2 modules in IELTS. One is academic, one is general training. Okay, so how do you know whether you need to sign up for academic or general training? From the name itself, you should know. If you're doing anything that is related to studies, you need to take academic module. You need to take academic module. If you're doing it for migration purposes, or sometimes work purposes. So work purposes, you have to read between, you have to read the fine lines. Yeah, you need to actually clarify whether they need general training or academic module. Some of them, they need academic module. Some of them, they need general training module. Okay, the reason why you need to know this is because if, let's say, you just need general training, you missed it, you go and take academic module, sometimes it would work to your disadvantage because this is my personal opinion, yeah? General training, the reading section is much easier. General training, the reading section is much easier. So if, let's say, you do not know, you just take academic module when you just need general training, and if you don't do well in your reading section for academic, then you might not get the band that you need, and this will, of course, jeopardize your chances of getting your application approved. Okay, so that is why I always tell my participants and also the test takers, but potential test takers, that you need to find out. And also it says here, consider the general training test if there is an option. If you have an option of choosing between the two, then go for general training, like I said, because the reading section is much, much easier. Okay. Right. So this is a quick look at this. Academic section for academic module is for universities, professional registration, and for migration purposes, some of them. And you see both of them are for migration. So you have to read carefully whether you have an option or either or. Okay, you have an option of either one, or you just have to be exclusively one. Look, please check that. And for general training, it's usually for professional registration, and for vocational education. For example, they need to get some certificate, say for mechanics and all this. So usually they need to do general training. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? I'm going to skip this. So, yeah, any question? No, so far so good. Good. So, like I said, both test providers also provide you with the option of doing your IELTS test via computer-based test. So you can consider that if you feel that you are more comfortable doing it using through the keyboard and screen rather than paper-based. Okay, and always check the availability and also check the venue. All right, I'm going to skip all this and just a quick look at the IELTS bands, 9-band scale. Like I said, there's no pass or fail. But of course, when you achieve these bands, meaning that you probably won't get through your application, because these are all very low bands. Okay, these are all very low bands. The minimum is always 5. Sorry, the minimum is 5 usually. The minimum requirement, or 5.5. Even for migration, for vocational purposes, sometimes they need just 5 or 5.5. But I think you should look at something higher here from 6, 7, 8, 9. So 6 would be competent user, 7 good user, 8 very good user, and expert users for band 9. Okay. Okay, the format of the tests. Take a look at this, yeah? All of them have the same 4 sections for both academic and also general training. You always start the test with listening module. Okay, the test takers for both modules will be placed at the same hall if you're doing paper-based, and you're going to start with listening test first. And both modules have the same listening paper, have the same questions for listening section. So listening paper will run for 30 minutes. There are 4 sections altogether, in which you have to answer 40 questions in one go. 40 questions in one go. Of course, in between, you will the audio text will allow you some breather for you to take some break in between, but you will have to answer all questions within that 30 minutes. And the last 10 minutes, not the last 10 minutes, after the 30 minutes of answering questions, you will be given 10 minutes. You will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers. You'll be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers from your whatever, the question paper on which you scribble on to your answer sheet, So the 10-minute extra transfer time is only applicable to listening section. It's only for listening section in which you have that 10 precious minutes of extra time. All right. And then you will continue with your reading section. Reading section is 1 hour. It's 1 hour in which you have to answer 3 questions for questions that are based on 3 different passages. 3 different passages. Well, the only difference, in this module, in this section, the questions for academic will be different from the general training module. Academic module, you have 3 long passages, whereas for general training, you may have some different types of reading text, but also come in 3 sections. So first section is usually, you have some notices, some brochures or whatever, then you have to answer the questions based on that, and some short text after that for section 2, and then section 3 longer passage. But for academic module, it's uniformly 3 long passages. That is why I mentioned earlier that general training comes with easier questions and easier text for reading section. Okay, but that does not mean that you purposely go and do general training even though you're required to do academic. Yeah, so please read the requirements. Yeah, and then you will continue with 1 hour of writing. Writing, 2 tasks. Comes with 2 tasks. Usually you need to spend 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2 to enable you to complete the tasks, both tasks. Okay. The questions for writing section is also, the questions are also different for both modules, in which in academic module, task 1 comes with the description of a chart or a diagram. A visual will be given, and then you need to write a description of that visual in 150 words minimum. But as for general training, you need to write a letter. I know it's pretty old-fashioned, but you still need to write a letter. You don't have to worry about the format of the letter. You just have to start with like, dear so-and-so. And it's also easier for task 1 in general training because all the points are given to you. You don't have to think. You just need to expand the points given, right? And write a letter based on that. And the second task, both modules come with discursive writing, whereby a statement is given to you, and then you have to respond to that statement and write an essay of 250 words. Okay, and lastly, the most relaxing one. I know that a lot of people are pretty nervous about this section, but I would think that if I have gone through the reading and writing, it's like, a holiday for me when it comes to speaking, because you don't really have to prepare. You just be there and talk to the examiner. An examiner will be there whether you're doing it virtually or face-to-face. There is always a real person, not ChatGPT, not a robot, not AI, but a real person talking to you. You just need to respond. How should I say? As you need to within that 14 minutes, and then off you go. That's the end of the tests, right? Yeah, so the entire test will take up to 2 hours and 44 minutes plus 10 minutes, so close to 3 hours, depending on the time. It depends on which module you're taking, which mode you're taking. You're taking face-to-face or computer-based, right? Okay, so that's about the test format. The test format for IELTS. I hope you have got an idea already. Any one of you who have done the test before? Can I have a show of hands? Any one of you who have done the test and now you have to do the test again because your results has expired? Yeah. So I have some of you who have already done the test. So yeah, for those of you who plan to do the test, so this will be what you will encounter during the test. All right, so let's move on to the first section of the test that is called listening. Yeah, listening. If you were to ask me among all the 4 sections, which is the hardest, I will tell you that reading is the hardest. Reading is really the hardest. Yeah. Contrary to what most people feel that, listening is very hard. Listening, actually, you can manage it if you have enough practice. If you have enough practice, you will be able to do it. But you need to prepare yourself enough, meaning that you may have to buy a book or check the library whether, they hold a copy of IELTS practice tests, those practice test books. Just go and get a copy with the audio, of course, and practice it. Okay, so let's look at how you can prepare yourself for listening, and what listening section is about. Like I said, it's 30 minutes, 40 questions that comes in 4 parts. I can't really tell you, how many questions for each part. Sometimes, there are some breakdowns, like one question, there are 2 blanks. So I do not know. I don't even know how they actually calculate the marks, because these are not marked by the examiners. Yeah, these are all marked by the administrators, and now they might even mark it using a computer. So we wouldn't know. Right? So it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about things that you cannot control. Your job is to worry about how many marks I want to score. The higher, the better. Okay, the higher, the better. So that you can actually reach a higher band to help you bring up your overall rating. Okay, each question is usually worth 1 mark, and the point that I want to highlight here is that there is no penalty for wrong answers, and please don't leave any blank unanswered. Don't leave any question unanswered, because you paid for it. Every question or every blank is a cost for you. Okay, it's a cost. You paid for it. It cost you some money. So don't waste it. Just write something in there, even though you have missed the listening text, you cannot remember, you didn't capture it. Just write down an answer based on your guess. Look at the clues next in that question and try to come up with one possible answer. Just put in there. So because no marks will be deducted even though you give the wrong answers. And you can use either British or American spellings. I'm so sorry, even though at the beginning it says that it doesn't test you in American or British English, but I think spelling is pretty standard. Like bus, if you write BAS, you'll still be considered. It's still be considered as an error. All right, you cannot say that, it could be Malaysian English or whatever. In Malaysia, we say bus, BAS. No, yeah, you can't. It's still very clearly either British or American, and be consistent. If you choose to use British English or British spelling, then use that throughout, especially in your writing. And if you choose to use American, you also use that throughout. Don't switch, because once you switch, let's say in one sentence you mix American and British English, then it will be considered as an error. Okay, it's not about creativity or style. It will be considered as an error. Therefore, you will lose marks. You will hear a number of recorded monologues and conversations in a variety of English accents. Across the years, you will notice that increasingly IELTS has become more globalized. okay, in terms of choosing the audio text. And previously, you know, if you look at the old versions of IELTS practice test books, very clearly it's white accents. But now you can hear some Asian accents, you know, you can clearly hear even Malaysian accent, like Singapore. I don't know. I actually, if you ask me, I don't see any difference between Singapore accent and Malaysian accent. Yeah, so they are all quite similar. But you can hear distinctively that these are Asian accents, so no longer just white. Okay, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But still, you still need to get in touch regularly with the language so that you are familiar with the sound, you're familiar with the tone, you're familiar with the rhythm. Okay, listening test formats. Usually, the first section is usually a conversation between two speakers on an everyday social topic. If you have done IELTS tests before, or if you have a book, right, or you have gone through some materials, you will realize that these 4 sections come with increasing difficulty and complexity. Sometimes the complexity is in terms of the text itself. Sometimes the complexity is in terms of the questions itself. But you will see that increasingly, you can see that section 1 is usually the most basic and the simplest one. And increasingly, section 2 is more challenging, section 3 more challenging, and section 4 is, of course, you know, you have the longest text and some questions are pretty tricky. This is to actually differentiate between Band 5, Band 2, Band 7 candidates. If you are Band 7 candidates, probably you can manage up to section 4 or section 3 without much difficulty, but you're struggling with section 4. If you're Band 8, Band 9, you know, probably you are very, very confident and you are pretty accurate up to section 4, no problem. Okay, if for a listening test part, if the answer is written incomplete answer, plural, let me see what is it acceptable or not counted for mark? Plural. Okay, this is a good question. You have to look at the clue. If in that question itself, grammatically, it actually requires you to have a plural noun, then you have to have a plural noun. For example, the question is like 10 attended the session, attended the webinar. So if you write participant, definitely it's wrong because it says 10 participants. Yeah, so immediately it's wrong. I mean, that is stark grammatical error. All right, even though you get the keyword right, participant, but because you disregard the entire grammatical cues from the question, it also actually shows your proficiency or lack of it. Okay, does that answer your question? Yeah. All right, so, and section 2 is usually a talk by one speaker on a more general topic. Say, for example, like a description of a tourist area to tell you which area is what. Okay, for example, and section 3 is a discussion. As you can see, section 3 is a discussion between 2 or 3 speakers on a topic related to education. So even though you're doing general training, you still have to do the same listening section, the same listening questions with the academic module, right? So you still have to prepare yourself for something that is quite academic related here, because section 3 is usually a conversation between two and more people or among 2 and more people on an academic subject. And lastly, section 4 is usually a lecture or a talk on a specialist subject. So it can be anything. It can be aerospace, it can be environment, it can be like culture, it can be anything, right? Yeah. Okay, so a breakdown of what it is. Social and academic, part 1 and part 2 are more social oriented. Part 3 and part 4 will be more academic oriented. So you have 1 dialogue, 1 monologue for each part. Okay, and what kind of recording will you be expecting? Usually it's authentic like language. It is not if you're from APB UiTM Kedah or our Malaysian test, it's usually more rehearsed and usually more doctored to cater to the needs of the test takers. But this one is actually authentic text, or rather it is recorded in a very natural and authentic setting, whereby the rate of speech, the way the conversation is conducted is just like our normal setting. Okay, discourse features of natural speech, like I said, repetition and redundancy. So there will be like the pauses like feelers like I see, and all this will be incorporated in the text, right? So there will usually be up to 3 item types in one section. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to skip this because I think it's more important for you to later on to go to the. I'm going to skip this a little bit because I'm running a little bit behind time. But whatever, the key, the main thing that I want to highlight here is that the text is usually rather authentic in nature. Okay, so that means you need to be prepared for some certain fast-paced speech. They can speak quite fast, and also be careful. There's no repeat. Yeah, they don't play the text they won't play the text the second time. It's only one time. So if you miss it, you miss it. Okay. All right, and I'm going to skip all this text, see like the social conversation section 1. These are the usual settings or some common settings that you might expect in your test. Okay, very general and rather common and easily relatable, like someone call to get information, to ask for information, you're conducting a survey. So there's always some question and answer. Second, the section 2 is general interest talk by one person. So you give talk about the tour, give it a report of a crime, talk about an interesting topic, and so on and so forth. And yeah, the section 3, like I said, it involves more than 2 people. Okay, more than 2 people or 2 or more people, yeah? So they can talk about worksheet, they can talk about the presentation of project or a dissertation thesis of paper. And section 4 is usually part of a university lecture. Okay? So when you do your listening or when you practice to do your listening, always pay attention to certain important things like synonyms. IELTS test, yeah, in fact, for the first, the 3 sections, listening, reading, and writing, consistently, they test you on your paraphrasing skills and your diction, your word power, vocabulary range, because paraphrasing skills actually involve a lot of vocabulary skills. Okay, so they will mention something, a word, let's say beautiful, but in the question, you will see another word of similar meaning. So you're supposed to, if you're a good language user, you would be able to notice the similarity. If you're no good, if you're a weak user, meaning that you would miss that and probably you don't get the answer. And that's how you get the band 5, band 6, band 7. Okay, they won't give you a direct copy of the text on your question, never. There's always a paraphrase. Okay, so we're going to look at that later. And of course, you need to take notice of and act on what someone says, respond to advice or a request, meaning that you need to listen for the signpost words. For example, like in a lecture, you will hear the person says firstly, secondly, thirdly. So these are signpost words that would probably lead you or guide you to look for the possible answers when you're listening. Okay, and make an effort to hear something, meaning your focus power, meaning you should actually get good sleep a day before your test, good breakfast, be alert, and you need to learn some relaxation techniques to keep yourself focused, keep your mind, not yourself, your mind focused during the listening test so that you can just focus on the listening and don't let your mind take you elsewhere. Let's say, to shopping or to your family, your children and all this. No, you're supposed to just focus on the questions and listen for the answers. Got it? Is that okay? Yeah? Okay, good. And yeah, this is just a rough guide on a lot of this. This is the main concern. Yeah, like how many questions, how many correct answers I should get for me to get band 6 or band 7, band 8. I mean, really, you don't have to worry about that. For me, it's about I want to get as many correct answers as possible. So anytime and every time you do your own self-practice, please do not give yourself this false sense of comfort that I do one question, I take a break, I go and have my coffee, I go and check on my Instagram, then I come back and listen to the rest, or I have my answer there and I check. Don't. Anytime and every time you do your practice, make sure that you set yourself 30 minutes solid. Just sit there, listen and answer. Don't repeat. I know that you have the provision, you have the ability or flexibility of listen to it like 10,000 times, but don't, because you know that in the real test, you are not going to have this privilege. Therefore, you need to prepare yourself for the reality so that during the test, you know what to do already. You are ready in terms of your mind, mentally, physically, you have that stamina. All right. So it says that you need to, in order for you to reach band 7 and 8, you need to achieve 30 or 35 correct answers. But of course, to me, you should get as many correct answers as possible. Yeah. All right. Things we do. All right. There are a few listening types. Yeah. There are a few listening types that question types that you can expect. You have form completion, table completion, sentence completion. Don't play this spot game. Yeah. I try to spot and I just focus on one type of question and I try to master it. No, you should open your mind and be ready for all kinds of questions. Okay. Because IELTS, they always change their questions, the format. So you have to be ready and you have to be familiar with all types of questions. Okay, you even have multiple choice, pick from a list, matching, classification, labeling. So it is always very important for you to read the instructions. Most important thing is the instructions. You have to read the instructions before you start answering the questions. All right, so let's take a look at just try this, a breather for me and also a breather for you to get you engaged in this. So try to look at these two questions. Try to look at these two questions. Write no more than 2 words and or a number. If you have the opportunity, you are given the option of writing a number, write in number, like numerical, like 9, you just write number 9. Don't try to, or 19, for example, you just write 19. Don't have to think about how am I going to spell 19? Is it 19th or 19? So just write 19 because then you will actually minimize the chances of making mistakes, right? Like, for example, if it's 19 million, you can write 19 and write the word million. And let's say, a person like me who can never make out like how many zeros are there in million, how many zeros are there in a billion. So I would write 19 million or billion in words. Understand? So over here it says no more than 2 words. It's very important. Some questions come with no more than 3 words. So don't assume the first practice test I do, it says no more than 2 words. So all the tests will come with no more than 2 words. No, some of them, they ask you to write no more than 3 words. So you have to write 1, 2, and 3 words. 3 is maximum. Over here, 2 words, 1 and 2. 2 is maximum. If you write 3 words, 0. You get 0. Okay, but if you write 1 word, if that's a correct answer, you still get the marks. Okay, so over here, it says cycling holiday in Austria. And first thing, I think you should just guess what could be the answer. Over here, for example, question number 1, holiday begins on. The Q here is on. You know that you are expecting to listen out for a Listen out for what? A name? A number? A date? Which one? Anyone here? Which would you expect to listen? For question number 1, holiday begins on, a date. So you see, before you start listening, you should actually pay attention to the questions and look for those keywords. And that also explains what one of the questions asked just now about singular, plural. Look at that. On, you know that it's about date already, so you listen to that and you should write, your answer should come in a form of a date. Okay, date is usually a day and a month. Okay, and number 2, no more than what people in cycling groups. So are you expecting to listen out for a name, a place, a number? A number. So you are already giving your brain the input, what to listen for. So it's called preparation. The preparation, the state of preparation is very important when it comes to listening, because once you miss it, you're not prepared. It's very easy for you to miss the information. And the worst thing is you're only going to listen to the text once. All right, so listen to this now. Let's try this. This is section 1, so it's pretty easy, yeah?
Test 1, exam practice. Listening, section 1.
Can you hear this? Can you hear it clearly? Yes? Okay, good.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a woman and a man who works for a holiday company about a holiday she would like to go on. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
Pause the recording for 30
and answer questions 1 to 6.
Holidays for you. Sean speaking. Can I help you?
Oh, hi. I've been looking at your website. I'm interested in a cycling holiday in Austria in April.
We have 2 trips in April. One lasts 14 days and the other 10 days.
I think the 10-day trip is better. So let's see. I've got a calendar here. What are the dates?
Well, that trip is in the middle of the month. It starts on the 17th of April and it finishes on the 27th.
That suits me. I can't leave work before the 10th of April.
Let me see if there are any spaces. Is it just for yourself?
Myself and my sister, so 2 of us.
Yes, we have spaces.
Is it a big group?
At the moment, there are 12 people booked on this trip, and with you 2, that will be 14. The maximum number is 16, so it's almost fully booked.
So have you got the answers? Have you got the answers? You can write your answers in the chat box for number 1 and number 2. Number 1? Number 1, what is the answer? Okay, 17 April, that's very good. Okay, it begins on, so you will realize that they will give you more than 1 answers in the conversation or in a text. So it tests you a lot on those little things like begins. It says starts on. So starts on, begins on. Like I say, paraphrasing synonyms, so it mentions 17th. If you were to ask me which answer is the best, I would not put in the first one, because the TH here is a nuisance. It doesn't carry any meaning these days. For the modern business communications, we do not use TH anymore. It's very old-fashioned and it doesn't mean anything, and it causes a lot of confusion, and most of the time people make mistakes. So eliminate that in your test. Don't make yourself difficult. Don't make your life difficult during tests. Don't challenge yourself. Just go for the easiest or the simplest, 17 April or April 17. Now, be careful. Don't write your month in number, because don't forget the British system and the American system are different. Because in American system, the month comes first. Month comes first and then the day. So if let's say 6th of July, 6th of July, you write 6/7. Americans would consider that 7th of June. So you might cause some confusions there, so don't. And the second one, the answer is no more than 16. So forget about the second one, answer 16, you just write the number 16. So this is very typical type of IELTS question, right? Now we are going for something more challenging. The second one, are you ready? So like I said, write numbers instead of spelling them out. Second one, are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah, so take like half a minute to read the questions first. This one is multiple choice, yeah? This is multiple choice. You just need to choose one answer. So, but sometimes you have to read the instructions. Some questions actually need you to pick two answers. So you need to read, yeah, don't assume. All right, so you're ready? I'm going to...
Test 1, exam practice.
Car park, where it still is.
Okay, you ready? Good. Can I start? Okay, good.
And now we have our Know Your Town section, where we look at what's on offer in our area. Today, John Munro is going to tell us about local food and eating out. John.
Well, most of us buy our food in supermarkets these days, but we're very lucky having a wonderful market here. It was originally on the piece of land in front of the cathedral, but at the beginning of the 20th century, it was moved to a site by the river. When the new shopping centre was built in the 1960s, it found a home beneath the multi-storey car park, where it still is, but there are plans to move it back to its previous home by the river. The market is now open 6 days a week. On Tuesday to Saturday, you can buy fresh fruit and vegetables, meat and cheese from the area, as well as a whole range of imported produce. But if you come on a Sunday, you'll find a different market, where craftspeople sell what they have made, things like bags, cards, clothes.
Wow, everyone is so tip-top, you know, have the answers already, both C's. First one, the market is now situated. C, near the river. A and C, C and C, we have different... Okay, let's look at number one, yeah?
Is going to tell us about local food and eating out. John.
Well, most of us buy our food in supermarkets these days, but we're very lucky having a wonderful market here. It was originally on the piece of land in front of the cathedral, but...
So you see, it mentions all the places. Now your job is to choose the right one. Okay, so it says it was first. Mark the grammar. It was first. So it's no longer now because the word is now. Now. So when is now? Now where is it?
At the beginning of the 20th century, it was moved to a site by the river. When the new shopping centre was built in the 1960s, it found a home beneath the multi-storey car park, where it still is.
So the answer is where it still is. It is still now under a car park. It is still under a car park. So you can see that it is rather tricky because this is already section 2. It is already section 2, right? So yeah, the next one, the keyword here is 1 day a week. So which day?
Pause the recording. Good, of course. But there isn't one Tuesday to Saturday. You can buy fresh fruit and vegetables, meat and cheese from the area, as well as a whole range of imported produce. But if you come on a Sunday, you'll
So it's on a Sunday, that's the one day of a week.
find a different market where craftspeople sell what they have made. Things like
So craftspeople, handmade stuff. See, yeah. So these are the typical types of questions that you will be expecting in your IELTS listening plus reading. Reading is the same here, even though you're not listening, but you can see that the questions in your the questions and the text are slightly different in terms of the words. Okay. Okay, so that is about listening. Yeah, I'm behind times, seriously behind time, so I'm going to skim through it very quickly. Reading. Okay, for reading section, always the second part of the test, 60 minutes, 40 questions. I just had a glimpse of a comment just now that it was really, really hard. Someone who did IELTS before. Yeah, it is hard. Okay, it is hard. More so if you do not read regularly. If you do not read long text regularly, it is going to be harder because of your, the eye movement and all this. You're also not used to reading it. And also your focus. You cannot really capture what you read in a short time. So you need to learn a lot from your APB friends, skimming and scanning. Go and ask your APB friends. I'm not sure whether there are any APB people here. I just know Kila and Wani. They're from my department, and the rest of you, anyone from APB here? Other campuses? Okay, all right. So yeah, if you're APB from APB and you've been teaching English, you should know the importance of skimming and scanning. This is when you really need to put that into practice, right? Because you really have very little time. If you do a quick calculation, 60 minutes, 40 questions, how much time you have for each question? Do a quick calculation. How much time you have for each question? How much time? 90 seconds, right? Yeah, 90 seconds is about 1.5 minutes. And we are talking about the reading, the understanding, the getting confused time, and then the thinking about which one is the right answer. Everything should be within that 1.5 seconds, and you need to nail it. Yes, the nga time, like, scratching hair like what? You look at it and you get lost for a moment. Oh my goodness, this is a topic that I haven't seen before. It's about aerospace. I do not know about aerospace. The best thing is about reading is you do not need to read everything. You do not need to know everything in IELTS test. Don't give yourself this headache. It doesn't need you to understand the topic. It needs you to understand the questions, and you must know how to look for the information in the text. Does that feel more comfortable? Does that give you more confidence? Yes, you just need to tell yourself that I do not need to be an expert in that topic. You're not supposed to know everything. Therefore, please get rid of the bad habit of reading word for word from the first word to the last word. No, get rid of that. You should learn to read like, we call it in Chinese, we call it chin chai, like simply. You just simply glance like that, like, oh, I think this is what it is. And then look out for those important keywords or words that you feel are important. Okay, you feel but must have evidence. That doesn't mean it's all based on my feeling, but you must have some textual evidence to convince you that, yes, those words are important. So look out for frequently repeated words in a text. Those are what we call keywords when we teach English. Okay, we also have technical terms, yeah, like keywords. And yeah, so there are 40 questions altogether in 3 sections, and each question is worth 1 mark. Again, don't leave any question unanswered because you paid for it. And yeah, these texts are taken from various sources, and don't worry too much about that. You just need to, like I said, do more practice. The only thing that you can promise yourself that you can do well in your test is to practice. As cliche as it sounds, right? No shortcuts. Sorry, you cannot become an expert after this talk. Even after a 3-day workshop with IDP or with British Council or 1-month course with British Council will not make you an expert in IELTS or in English. You need consistent practice. Okay, so reading text test format here, you have 3 passages, each of about 700 to 900 words, 12 to 17 questions for each passage. The best thing about reading is that the range of question types are so diverse. And please do it with an open mind. Don't get yourself trapped in this Malaysian English test format. Multiple choice, only one answer. No. In IELTS reading section, there are some times whereby they need you to mark 2 answers in a multiple choice question. So please read the instructions. Otherwise, you would lose marks for no reason. Okay? Yeah. Let's look at how would I understand. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is general training. So any one of you who plan to do general training module, in my workshop, I've always liked to see, how the academic module participants are, how they feel like geram with the general training when they look at the questions in reading. It's like, oh, I wish I could do general training because it's so easy. There is something like this in part 1. In section 1, it's like this. You have to match, actually. You have to match it. And they always give you 1 extra to confuse you. Okay, so there are 3 statements here, and to sort of explain about the notices, the 3 notices. So number 1, you should do this before you enter here. This place is not open every day. You can find games to play inside. So A matches with what? For sale, boy zone, video game only played once. $50. Okay, so keywords here, very easy. Games, right? So you straight away, you match the word game. You have to try to match this already. Look at the word game. Do you need to read everything? Actually, you don't need to. Look at the word game over because the other options do not have the words game. So it automatically is here, right? The next one, B, shower. Any option here that actually can match this? Which one? 1. Please do this before. So the word is before. The keyword here is before. Right? 3. Science Museum open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Closed Tuesday. Adults $15, children $10. So, over here, yeah, the place doesn't open every day. Yeah, because it closed on Tuesday. Right, so something like this, you see, you don't really have to. If you are very fluent reader, if you're a good reader, then you can actually spot those keywords very quickly and make a connection. So that cuts down your reading time. That cuts down your reading time significantly. So you can actually answer the question is in less than half a minute. Less than half a minute. So that gives you more time for other more challenging questions. Understand? So for IELTS test, just to mention here, because this is a briefing, I don't really give you a lot of details, but in my workshop, I usually give very detailed instructions like, okay, over here, I'm giving bonus 20 minutes maximum for each section. Once you have reached 20 minutes, even though you haven't finished answering section 1, you have to skip to section 2 already, because if you don't do that, you will risk yourself of not being able to answer all the questions, especially in section 3, and therefore you will lose marks. Don't waste your time on questions that you don't know. Don't waste time on questions that you don't know. Skip. Go to other questions. When you have time at the end, go back. Go back meaning if you really don't know, then you just have to agak-agak already. Agak-agak, all right? If you have time to think further, then try to look for the answer. Don't risk your marks by just focusing on one, and then you forgo the entire forest. Understand? Understand? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the answer. Again, a brief guide. Yeah. Don't believe 100% on this. I don't want you to have this preconceived idea. Oh, I just need to get 30 correct answers and I'm happy. No, get more than that. If you can get up to 38 correct answers, it's even better. Right? No harm doing that. Right? So there are, like I said, many different types of questions that you have to anticipate. Yeah, you have summary completion, meaning you have to fill in, like just now, no more than one word, no more than 2 words, no more than 3 words. Flowchart completion, note completion, gap fill, labeling a diagram or map. Yes, they do give you, like from in language. In language teaching, we call it from linear to non-linear. Oh, sorry, this one is from linear to non-linear. From a text, you have to complete a chart or a map or something. So it's from linear text to non-linear. You have to fill in the completed information. You have sentence completion, you have form completion, you have short answer questions. So there's so many types, and there is no one way for you to know exactly what type of question you'll be getting during your tests. Okay, so just be prepared for all. Yeah, more types: finding info into paragraphs, in paragraphs, multiple choice, paragraph headings, matching. These two, I believe, would be a little bit more challenging because this one requires you to look for main ideas rather than specific details, like paragraph headings and matching. Yeah, classification. True, false, not given is another. This one is a staple. Every IELTS test you would expect to see true, false, not given type of question. Okay, so this is what we're going to look at now. This type: true, false, not given. If it is true, meaning that the statement agrees with the information. False means it contradicts. Not given doesn't mean that it is false, but simply you cannot find any information to prove whether it is correct or wrong. So don't get it wrong. Like if it is not given, meaning it's false. No, it is not. Not given and false are two different things. Yeah. So you need to know the difference. For example, here, true, false, not given. Let's try. Let's give yourself a, let's say 3 questions. So ideally about 4.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes for each question. So 4.5 minutes. Yeah, let us do a little bit of timing. Kila, can you do a little bit of timer? Show the timer here. Oh, no, I cannot show because they're doing this. So we have a timer on or something. Can we start now? Ready, people? A quick test. Ready? Okay, good. So let's start. 5 minutes, okay, bonus half a minute. 5 minutes. How much time do we have, Kila?
40 seconds.
40 seconds. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess, if those of you who have got the answers, I think we can just look at it now.
Sure.
Yeah. So 40 seconds. True, not given. Okay, we have true, not given. Everyone agrees with that? Everyone, false, not given. Okay, I have a range of answers. False, true, not given. All right, so let's look at that. Number one. Okay, in a glance, like I said, when you read this, don't have to read everything. You just have to, of course, whatever that captures your eyes to you would be important, right? So I think most likely you would focus on this. 20th century, you have Roger Bannister. There are two key people here, Roger Bannister and John Landy. And over here it says John Landy and Roger Bannister. And it says, ran a mile in under 4 minutes. Yeah. John Landy. Roger Bannister. You scan for Roger Bannister. Under broke the 4-minute record. Yeah, because who broke the record? John Landy or Roger Bannister? In being the first doing so, he denied his Australian rival, John Landy. So who was actually the first one who broke the record? Yeah, Roger Bannister. So you see, it can be just this tricky. So it is false. The next one, 50 years. Can you see the word 50? 50th anniversary. 50 years have passed in the recent 50th anniversary of the event. So is it true or false? True, isn't it? Yeah, it's true. So question 1 is false. Question 2 is true. Roger Bannister was English. True, false, not given. Does the text tell you anything about that? No, not given. So that's how you get the answer. And if you look at, this is rather typical of IELTS tests, whereby it usually goes in order. The questions are usually, the questions usually go in order with the sequence of the text. I mean, usually, not all the time. Okay, there are exceptions, but usually. So it is quite uncommon. It's quite uncommon for you to, like number 3, you look for the answer on top. No, your 3 would be, yeah, you have to go further down the paragraph to look for it. Okay, so that is reading. All right, so yeah, like I said, for reading section, you need to do a lot more practices to get yourself familiar with the different types of questions. And also you need to train yourself in terms of stamina, speed, accuracy. Stamina, speed, accuracy, because it is actually quite draining, especially after 30 minutes of intensive listening and thinking. Immediately after that, you have to start reading. That is when you would lose your attention span. You will feel sluggish. You feel, difficult to focus. So without adequate training or practice, then you will find that you will be struggling on the day of test. More so, don't forget, after your reading, you have another big monster coming to see you. That is your writing. Okay, so you need to really build your stamina. It's like workout in a gym. Yeah, it's not that you need to do dumbbells and all this. Go and carry like stash of English IELTS practice test books and carry it like that. And spend time working on those practices. Okay, so writing. In this talk, I won't be focusing on general training, assuming that most of you will be doing academic module. Yeah, so academic writing, 2 tasks in 60 minutes. Yeah, 2 tasks you need to fulfill or complete 2 tasks within 60 minutes. And usually you are advised to spend 20 minutes for task 1, which is quite impossible. So I always tell my participants, okay, I give you 5 minutes. The most you can get the extra is 5 minutes. So 25, 35. That's the most. Nothing beyond that. You cannot have half. You know why? Because you need to write more for task 2. And also task 2 is worth more marks. Therefore, you need to spend more time for task 2. For both academic and also general training, the same. Right? Task 1 in academic module requires you to write description of at least 150 words based on material found in a chart, table, graph, or diagram. Don't have this false confidence that, okay, if I just prepare, I will be lucky enough to always get line graph or pie chart. No, in fact, 2 weeks back, I met some people. Say, Miss Jack, my participants, Miss Jack, you know what? We met the worst. We got the writing on map, describing maps or the geographical changes that happen in one place over a span of time. Yeah, so it's your luck, really. It's your luck. They won't repeat the question, but and also you won't be able to know what type of question is going to appear on that day. Right, task 2 is quite standard. Essay of at least 250 words in response to a statement or question. You can use either British you can use either British or American spelling, not a mix of both. Yeah, it has to be exclusively one. Okay, what is expected in task 1 is minimum 150 words. Some of my participants like to ask me, Miss Jack, do we need to count the number of words? Really, you're already struggling with the time. Do you have time to count? So if you have captured everything in the visual, you're able to cover all the details in your writing. I believe you would have been able to comfortably write up to 150 words and above. So I don't think you need to count. Leave this noble job to the examiner who is paid to do that, to count the number of words and see whether you reach the word limit or not. Okay, so yeah. And you need to spend 20 minutes to 25 minutes on this task. You need to basically find a trend overall, what is happening or changing. You must be able to describe the overall trend and then to support your description with the specific details. Okay, so let's say, yeah, you have to describe something like a chart. Can be pie chart, can be bar chart, or a graph, line graph, table, a process, or a map, how something works, or group or of similar or like objects. So it can be anything, really. Something like this, you'll be very happy because it's something really common. You have done this before. You have taught your students to do this before. So yeah, you're quite familiar with it. That is one thing. But for you to categorize those information, to analyze and categorize and then describe this information in 150 words and more in 20 minutes, I think that is a challenge. Okay, the challenge comes in the time limit because you have to do so many things. So again, tell me, how would you be able to achieve that? How? How? Tell me, what would be the best way? Yeah, practice. That's right. Thank you. At least someone is here with me. Yes. No other way. I'm sorry. There's no magic pill. There's no shortcut. There's no, some magical ways to help you. I'm so sorry. I can't lie to you, really. You just need to do a lot of practice. The more, the better before your test. Don't be in a hurry to sign up for a test without preparation, please. That is the worst thing for you to do. The worst sin that you're going to commit, and then which is going to cost you a lot in terms of money and also your well-being. Okay, you will have to you'll put yourself under undue stress. Yeah, so no, don't. Give yourself enough time to practice, then only you sign up for the test. Okay, and yeah, so this one, you will have to first, of course, understand what it is, and then you summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and compare, right? Now, if you are unlucky, you might come across things like this. It is possible. I'm not scaring you. It is possible, really. Yeah, this is a process. But those from engineering, with engineering background, they'll be so happy, like yippee-yay, something that we're in our field. You know, we do this on a daily basis. We have to describe processes. So I have trained some engineering lecturers from Unimap and all these. They're like, oh, this is so up our alley. No, it's like our thing. But those from the arts are like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, this things, how am I going to write? No other way. It's not for you to choose. Sorry, you cannot tell them, I don't know this. Can I have another topic? Just like speaking, they ask me, can we choose topic? No, the examiner chooses for you. You can't choose your topic. Yeah, so you just have to bite the bullet and write everything out in 20 minutes. Okay? Yeah, so if you want to learn how to write this more effectively, I'm afraid you will have to spend some time attending some intensive workshops to get a detailed coaching on how to do this. Okay, so this is writing. Writing task 2. Writing task 2 is more like it's something that probably if you write regularly, or if you think or discuss regularly, it's nothing too challenging for you. Yeah, but some task 2, there's one danger, is that sometimes if you don't read the questions carefully, you might get yourself in trouble, because you might actually write off-topic essay. You might write off-topic essay. Oh, yeah, before I forget, yeah, maybe just a little bit on your task 1, yeah? Just a little bit on your task 1, just to share with you something extra, yeah? Some extra thing for this course. This is the public version of band descriptors. You can download this. You can just Google and download this. If you are looking at band 6 and above, these are the requirements. So there are 4 criteria. 4 criteria that the examiner will look at in your essay. Task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy. Task achievement, 9 bands. Coherence and cohesion, 9 bands. So each criterion will be marked individually and independently. So there's no impression marking. There's no impression marking. There's no overall marking. So whatever band you get is actually an overall of your rating that you have achieved, or the scores that you have achieved from all these 4 criteria. So let's say if you get task achievement, let's say you get task achievement 7, coherence and cohesion 7, lexical resources 7, grammatical range and accuracy 6, you will still get a 6.5. You will get a 6.5. Understand? Yeah? So this is how your writing is being graded. For both writing task 1 and task 2, but the difference will be in task achievement and task response. In task 2 is called task response. So task achievement, meaning if you look at band 6 and band 7, it says addresses the requirements of the task. For academic, presents an overview with information appropriately selected, and presents and adequately highlights key features or bullet points and details may be irrelevant. So if you want to achieve band 6 and above, mean that you must be able to show that you cover all the details given in the stimulus. If it is GT, that means there are 3 bullet points given to you. You must cover all the 3 bullet points and adequately develop those bullet points. Okay, so for example, here, if, let's say, go back to this one. Let's say there are, in this process, there are how many parts? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you want to achieve band 6 and above, that means your response or your essay must actually adequately explain all these 7 parts. If it is just 5 or 6 parts, you only cover 5 or 6 parts, then you look at this. Band 5. Faham now? How people can go from band 6 to band 5 is not, sometimes it's not about your words. Sometimes it's because it means out something important. All right? I do have participants who are really, really good in their language, but then they still don't do well in their writing. You know why? Because they never know all these finer details that they're only available in workshops. Okay, in workshops, the experts will be able to tell you, right? So it's not through websites and all this, websites are written by all kinds of people. You don't know whether they really know IELTS in and out or not. Okay, so you can only take it with a pinch of salt. If you really want to know, you can rely on those official IELTS websites. From Cambridge, British Council, IDP, yes. The rest of them, I wouldn't discredit them, but please don't be too obsessed with that because they might not give you the right picture. Okay, especially the type of questions and also the way it's marked. Don't get swayed, by, oh, this is a band 9 model answer. This is how I'm going to write. No such thing. You must know what is required. So this is a very good source of information whereby you can look at what you need to fulfill in order for you to get band 6 and above. Understand? Got it? Okay. All right, for band, yeah. Good. Where am I now? Okay. All right. So sample task 2 will be something like this. They will give you a statement like this. University graduates can earn more than less at well-educated members of the community. So it is fair for them to pay the full cost of their own studies. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? So you need to explain, or you need to first state your stand. To what extent? So to what extent here, meaning it gives you the option of choosing 0%, 10%, 50%, 70%. And this one, you also have to ask yourself, do I have to cover both agree and disagree, or should I just base on agree alone? You have to think about that. There are different types of questions for part 2 as well, for task 2 as well. Some of them, they just need you to discuss both. Discuss both and state your own opinion. This one, it asks you to what extent. So usually I would tell my participants to take 70-30. 70-30. Don't take 50-50. Okay, don't take 50-50 because you need to write more. You take 70-30, it is easier. For example, let me give you an example. 50-50, isn't it that you need to write 2 points for agree, 2 points for disagree? That means 4 paragraphs altogether, correct? Yeah. If you've forgotten about your academic writing skills, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I won't be able to go through the great detail now. You have to go back and visit your English teachers or go and bug your APB friends, yeah, on how to write a proper paragraph. Okay. Now, if you take 70-30, 70% agree, 30% disagree, for example, then it's easier because you just need to write 2 points because the weightage is on more is on agree, right? So you have 2 points on agree, 1 point disagree. So altogether, how many paragraphs? 3. So you like to write 4 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs? Tell me, in a test. Your choice. Okay, I let you think. I let you think about it. Yeah. So always go for the simple one. Yeah, simple. Doesn't mean that you have to write simply, but you go for the simple steps so that you don't make more mistakes. Okay. Yeah. So usually you're advised to spend about 40 minutes on this task, and the band descriptor for task 2. If you look at that, the difference with this task response, okay, if you say band 6, addresses all parts of the task, although some parts may be more fully covered than the others. So the thing is all parts. If you say band 5, partially, that means you probably talk about, you agree, you don't talk about disagree. Then it's band 5 already in task response. Once one band is low, it will pull down your overall rating. Some of you said that reading is difficult. Okay, fine. I understand that. You know that sometimes really you can't do very well in your reading. So work on other modules to help raise your rating, your overall rating. Work on your writing, work on your speaking, work on your listening. That will probably help raise your rating, overall band. Okay, so don't just leave everything without any practice and hope for the, I pray for the best. Yeah, no such thing. You still need to practice. Okay, all right. We have another 20 minutes, so I'm going to skip this for a little while. I'm going to run through this rather quickly. General training. Anyone here who is attempting to do general training? Anyone? I need to see a show of hands. No one is doing a general training, then I'm going to skip this because it's not relevant. Anyone? No? Yes? No? Never? Nobody, yeah? Okay, so 1, 2, 3. No hand means no one is doing general training, so I'm going to skip this. All right. Task 2 counts twice as much as task 1, so always do it. It gives you this advice that always do task 2, but then again, you have to ask yourself which is more comfortable for you. Okay, some people want to just get rid of the most challenging one. I just want to get it out of my hands. You know, I don't like task 1. I want to quickly finish it. I want to do task 2. So if it works for you that way, by all means. Okay, and some people feel that, I want to focus first because that's the time when I have better focusing power and I want to do task 2 first. Fine, but whatever it is, make sure you follow the 20-40 ratio time division. Yeah, the 20-40 time division. 20 minutes task 1, 40 minutes task 2. Right, or the most is 25-35, not more than that. Right. So like I said, there are different types of questions in task 2. You have, do you agree or disagree, or discuss both views and state your opinion. So you have to know the difference. Yeah. You have to know the difference. If you want to know the difference, go join a workshop or look at some sample essays. But sample essays can be quite risky, yeah, if you get from online, because some of them are not very well written, so you might be misguided. Okay. Sometimes you do not have to give an opinion, so you need to read the question carefully. Sometimes it asks you to discuss both views, so you don't have to give your views. It just asks you to discuss both views that are given to you. Okay. Yeah, this is general training. I'm going to skip this. So agree or disagree here. For example, here, some countries charge foreign visitors a higher price than residents to visit museums and important cultural attractions. To what extent do you agree with this practice? So this one is like the first one, 70-30. Okay, you choose 70-30, and then you discuss. This one, examine both sides. Some people think children in secondary school should study international news as part of the curriculum. Others think that this would be a waste of time as there are already too many subjects for children to concentrate on. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. So this one is very different. It doesn't ask you to agree or disagree. It asks you to discuss view number one, that is, they should learn about international news. And another view two, they do not need to study international news. And then lastly, your own opinion. So altogether, how many paragraphs? The body paragraphs? How many paragraphs? 3 plus introduction and conclusion, 5. Okay, 5. Yeah. So that is how you actually plan your essay in the shortest time possible. Okay, give yourself always read the questions carefully and jot down a plan, an outline, what you have to do. So write your essay based on the outline. I think that is the most effective way to prevent yourself from making mistakes. First, read the questions carefully, analyze it, and then create a brief outline. Use about 5 minutes on that, and then the rest of the time, just develop those points that you have put in your outline. Okay, so that is one good way to do it, a good practice. And over here, it says, do the advantages. Okay, one of the consequences of improved medical care is that people are living longer and life expectancies are increasing. Do the advantages of this development outweigh the disadvantages? So it's no longer whether you agree or disagree. This one is about, do you think that the advantages of this development outweighs the disadvantages? So don't go to the test with only one type of question in mind. There are many different types. Okay, and you can even have direct question like this, which is quite rare but possible. Okay, so for writing task 2, make sure you analyze, plan, like what I said, write, and the last part is a bit susah usually because you won't have time to check. But if you really are very, very efficient writer, you have extra time, then yes, check for some punctuation errors and this and that. Okay, I'm going to skip this because we don't have time. And yeah, so this is how your essays are going to be graded. Yeah, 25, 25, 25, 25. Okay, but they're all graded individually. All right. Okay. So, yep, in other words, to sum up writing, the 4 criteria: get the task and stick to the data. Okay, that is for your writing task achievement or task response. Planning and writing coherently in the time given. Make sure you use all the linkers, the references, the reference words must be used correctly. The linkers, cohesive devices must be used extensively. So the more sophisticated and correct they are, the higher band you get. Right? Having the right vocabulary to match the task, a range of words, sophisticated words, if you know how to use idiomatic expressions correctly, not just memorize and then I just simply randomly put them in. No, that one, you're going to put yourself in trouble because it will actually bring down your rating. So make sure you have good or right vocabulary to explain it, because for example, for task 1, pie chart and line graphs, you cannot use the same set of vocabulary. Pie chart doesn't need you to compare. Yeah, pie chart doesn't need you to compare. Bar chart, yes. Line graph, yes. Line graph is more on the progression, but bar chart is more about the proportion. the pie chart is more on proportion. So the words you use would be different. You cannot just memorize the range of vocabulary and use for all types. No, that is when the examiner will know that it is all memorized chunks. Okay, these are all memorized chunks. Right? The last bit, grammar and syntax, your greatest demon, past tense, simple, present tense, and all this, you need to know the differences and use them correctly. All right, speaking, I'm going through like a bullet train now because we don't have much time, but it's okay. I believe we can just extend like 5 minutes. Kila, is that okay with you? I'm not sure about the rest of them. I can actually extend like 5 minutes. Yeah, but let's just go through speaking. Speaking is, for me, is the least stressful one. But some people, if you are not a ready speaker or you don't really feel confident to speak with a stranger, then yes, it will be a stress, right? It will be stressful for you. There are 3 parts. There are 3 parts too in speaking. First part. Okay, it's an 11 to 14 minutes of face-to-face speaking test. But these days, like I said, you can do VCS, video conferencing speaking test, yeah, with a certified examiner, which is as close to real-life situation as possible. And first part is introduction and interview. So don't worry, the examiner will prompt you. So don't worry that I do not know what to say. You just need to listen to the questions of the examiner and you answer. Be ready to get involved in or get engaged in the conversation. Don't be be too, especially for those people who have done the test before, sometimes, they can be a little bit aloof or a little bit defensive because they say, no, I've done this already. Why I'm repeating myself? Why do you make me repeat myself? Not that the examiner wants to make you repeat yourself. It's the test that requires you to do all this in order for you to get the marks, right? So you have to go to each test with fresh mind, yeah, and expectations, right? And part 1 is about 3 to 4 minutes. Right, sorry, it's 4 to 5 minutes. Part 1, introduction and interview, a range of pretty basic questions. And then part 2, you have to go solo, yeah? Part 2 is a 1 minute preparation and then 2 minute individual long turns. That means you have to talk about a specific topic given to you in 2 minutes. So again, you need to train your stamina. Points are given to you. Pandai use the points. Don't have to waste time thinking for your own points. There are ideas given for you as a guide, so you can use that. Just come up with some points to come up with some examples or whatever to support, so that you can actually stretch your speech up to at least 1.5 minutes, if not 2. Okay, and then part 3. You're back to a 2-way conversation whereby the candidate is asked to participate in a discussion of a more abstract nature. And usually the topic for part 3 is directly related to part 2. Let's say if your part 2 is about sports, then your part 3 is also about sports. Okay, so once you get your part 2, you already can imagine or expect what is coming in part 3. All right. So what you need to do in speaking, you need to be able to listen and read task information in order to complete the task. So for example, in part 1 interview, the examiner asks a series of questions about everyday topics such as work, studies, home. So there's a wide range of topics. So don't stress yourself out by, I do not know about these. How am I going to answer? If you really don't know, now it's best time for you to make full use of all the dramas that you have watched or movies. Create some stories. Create stories. That is when you lie. It's okay. You're not going to be penalized if you lie. Don't tell the examiner, I do not know. I have not experienced it. Nobody gave me present. I do not know. Because the topic could be describe a present that someone gave you that you really don't like. Then you say, no, I like all my presents. How can I talk about present that I don't like? Then create one, okay? And talk about it. Okay, so can think about, your parents' experience or your friends' experience and just talk about it. It doesn't matter. Make it your own. You won't be accused of plagiarism in that sense. It's okay, no problem. Right? And part 2, so part 1, 4 to 5 minutes. It always starts with your home, what you do and all this. And yeah, and then part 2, long term, whereby you're given 1 minute to prepare. You'll be given a pen or pencil and paper for you to write on. So you will have to write your topics or write your points there. And then once the time is up, the examiner will ask you to stop and prompt you to start your individual long term. And then you'll be timed for 2 minutes. And then, and then you end your part 2. Okay. And, long term. And then part 3, discussion. Back to 2 people discussion to talk about the topic that you talked about in part 2. Okay, so candidate can discuss more abstract ideas. So in part 2, you talk about yourself. In part 3, usually you'll be expected to talk about the community already, or even the world. No longer what you like. It's about what is being practiced in the world or in your community. Okay, so a lot of candidates like to say, but I like in part 3. Try not to do that. Try to say in my community, in the world. It's no longer about you. Okay, so don't rely too much on your own personal experience. You have to talk more about the trend, global trend, what is happening outside. Okay, this is to show that also you have a wide range of vocabulary to talk about the same topic extensively and extend it to out of your personal sphere. Okay. So discussion, like for example, like this in part 2, you talk about parties, and in part 3, you have to extend to weddings already. Like for example, is marriage today considered more or less important than it was in the past? So you cannot say in my wedding, I really, the wedding is very important to me. It's no longer about you. You can say that in my culture or in my society, wedding is considered as Right? So that is part 3. Okay, so even can go from parties to national holidays, for example. So that is the kind of progression that you expect in part 3. Okay, marking criteria. Let me just share with you this. Speaking. See this? And this one. This is old version, yeah. Now, you don't have pronunciation is no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 9. It skips. It's like probably, I can't remember. It's like 2, 4, 6. I think it's 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Yes, something like that. Yeah, so you have 4 criteria as well. Fluency and coherence. This one is vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation. So I know a lot of people are very worried about pronunciation, right? So let us see what is pronunciation here in Band 6. Uses a range of pronunciation features with mixed control. That means sometimes you may have slip of the tongue, you may mispronounce certain thing, or your stresses could be wrong, like development, you say development and all this, so it's not right. It has to be development. Yeah, photography. So that will be some lapses here and there. But overall, it is still comprehensible. People can still understand what you say. So the most important thing here is about clarity of your speech. It's not about your accent. So please don't purposely put up an accent. Don't purposely go and learn an accent. I want to speak like an American. I want to speak like, a British. I want to speak like an Australian. Do not have to. Just be yourself, but make sure your pronunciation is clear. And fluency. Don't put in too many false starts. Like the word like is overused sometimes. and it is not helping. It can be to your disadvantage because these will be considered as gap fillers, and they actually might affect the fluency and also clarity of the message. If you look at band 6 here, what it says is that is willing to speak at length, though may lose coherence at times. So that means the speech is not connected, the ideas are not connected effectively. The listener actually loses track of what you say, or your coherence, lack of coherence actually causes some level of confusion to the listener. So that is where your marks will be put down in terms of your fluency and coherence. Okay, in band 5, what is worse? What would bring you to band 5 is you keep repeating and correcting yourself. You keep backtracking. You keep on repeating and correcting yourself. It was, no, it is something like that. Then, clearly you have already shown that you have made a mistake and you're trying to correct it. And it is frequently. So that is when you will have the risk of going down to band 5. Understand? Yeah? Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah. What should you do for your speaking test? Speaking at length and producing a fluent and coherent answer. Be ready to speak up. Be ready to give more. Don't be too stingy with your words, because if you don't give enough input, if you don't give enough output for the examiner to give you the marks, then the examiner will not be able to give you the marks, right? And having the right vocabulary to answer the questions, a wide range, the wider the better. But of course, you must also make sure that you use it correctly. You use the words correctly. Having the grammar and syntax to produce a coherent answer, meaning you need to use the correct grammar to express the correct situation or the idea. And lastly, having clear and acceptable pronunciation and good phonological control in terms of the rate, in terms of the stresses, in terms of the chunking. Yeah, chunking meaning if let's say a statement like, have you eaten? Have you had your dinner? You don't say, have you had? And then you stop, your dinner. That is wrong chunking. Okay, that is wrong chunking. Yeah. So I don't think we have time to look at this, but if you can always go and Google this, IELTS speaking test, Javier. This is, or you can actually Google a lot on, just a very quick one, yeah? Maybe.
Hello, come in.
Yeah.
The candidate is Javier Manuel Rico, and the candidate number is 0004290. The examiner is Carol Kennedy, examiner number...
So this is exactly what it is like in a face-to-face speaking test.
433816. Good morning. My name is Carol Kennedy. Can you please tell me your full name?
Yes, I'm Javier Manuel Rico.
And what should I call you?
You can call me Chavi.
Can I see your identification, please, Chavi? Thank you. Thank you.
Of this reading, but what I really enjoy is working on case studies. What I mean is discussing cases. I like to exchange ideas with people.
So,
all right. So you have a feel of what it is like. So it's like a up close and personal with an examiner. The examiner, usually a trained examiner, is usually very encouraging. Smile at you and all this, and it will prompt you when the time is right. Okay. Yeah. So, yep, IELTS test results. I'm going to skip this. So some general tips and strategies for listening. Make sure you pay attention to the instructions. Make sure you read the keywords in questions. And time yourself, 30 seconds to read questions, 30 seconds to check answers, and you move on. Use the signpost words and stress and intonation to help you, and answer all questions and make sure you check the spelling. Okay, the same thing for reading. Make sure you practice skimming and scanning. Yeah, and also keep it to 20 minutes for each section. Do not spend too much time on one section and leave not enough time for other sections. Answer all questions. Watch out for paraphrase chunks in your text, also in your questions. Writing. Make sure you read the instructions and rubrics carefully and understand that. Analyze the question and then and also the data. Make sure you spend about 20 to 25 minutes for task 1 and 40 to 35 to 40 minutes for task 2. Mark keywords. Analyze, plan and write and check everything within the time given, and learn how to paraphrase so that your writing, you will not be accused of copying from the rubric. If you copy from the rubric, that whole part will be left unmarked. So they'll be taken out from your word count. So if that happens, and if you, let's say you just write nicely up to 150, if that chunk is taken out, that means your essay might be at risk of underlength. Okay, and when you write, if you're not doing the computer-based one, if you're doing the paper-based test, make sure you write legibly. Okay, and make sure you write a complete essay with introduction, body, and conclusion. And speaking, make sure you are ready, readiness to respond. Readiness, responsiveness. You learn how to relax, yeah, before you go in for your test. Relax and then state and elaborate. Always give +1. You say yes, why? No, why not? Okay, you have to explain. And then pace your speech in a right way, stress and intonation, politeness, presentation, and punctuality. Be punctual for your test, because once you're late, you might be in a state of panic, and it's you'll be flustered, so it's quite difficult. Yeah, so lastly, before I end, I'll probably give you some general tips. Plan the test date, be prepared, and consistent practice. Okay, like I said, if you wish to go for a test, you can actually check with IDP or British Council. IDP does provide workshops, and you can consider that. Right, so now, let's open for some question and answer very quickly. Sorry, it's a little bit exceeded, like 5 minutes. I probably can afford only 5 minutes of Q&A. Very quickly.
Right, any questions?
Yeah, it's like at Asia, the gate is closed. 20 minutes before departure, yes. Yes, make sure you'll be there at the venue earlier for your speaking test, because sometimes the candidate before you actually ends the test sooner, so you can just go in and do the test sooner. Like why do you want to stay so long there? The sooner you finish your test, the better, right? Then you can go relax. Yeah. Any question, Kila, from any of the other platforms besides GM, like from YouTube and Facebook? Any? No. Either I'm very clear, or nobody bothers to.
So far, no, on YouTube or even Facebook. But I think we have one here from Shukri.
Yeah. Apart from any, I can read that. Any. Very limited time to enroll in physical classes. Is there any suggestion online website? Online website, you must, there's no specific one, but like I said, it's better to go for the Cambridge one. Look for the official website. official website, IELTS official website. You can get that, or IDP. IDP actually gives you a lot of online practices. You can consider that. British Council. I think these three are the most reliable ones. Credible YouTube IELTS. I don't go for IELTS YouTube IELTS teachers because I'm like jeopardizing my own practice here. I mean, I do conduct workshops and all this, so I don't really know which is really good. Yeah, I do not know what is really, really good at YouTube. But based on what you have learned today, you would have some expectations already. So when you see that whatever they say is slightly, very, very different from what I said here, then, you may have to be very careful. You might want to look for another to see whether it matches. So you need to have this double check, Yeah. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Don't leave the chat yet. We need to take a group photo to mark that you're here. All right. Probably we can have the photography session before more people are dropping out of,
Yeah, sure.
of the chat.
Okay, so let's take one photo.
Yes, please.
I think, Jackie, you have to stop presenting.
I have,
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
All right, no problem. Okay, maybe you can turn
So
on
if
your...
you wish to, that would be
your
nice. That would be
camera.
nice to see you. Hi, hello, everyone. Now, if you, another thing is, sorry, if you really need to have an online workshop, you can always approach us from APB, and APB Kedah, we can actually come up with one for our UiTM staff at a very good rate, if you wish to. I mean, I'm just offering, not forcing. Yeah, you can always write to us, and we can come up with one. We don't have regular workshops for this because it is usually on demand. Yeah, it's usually on demand, and that sometimes the budgeting and all this kertas kerja thing, we are from UiTM Kedah, UiTM, right? All this paperwork might actually take a lot more time, and it's not worth it for us to do regularly. So if there is enough demand for us to do it, we can do it actually. All right? Okay, so yeah, let us know.
I've already taken the screenshot.
Yeah, take one with me not speaking because
All
I
right, okay.
might look a bit chacat.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
One more. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Selamat berbuka puasa, and also I wish all of you advance Selamat Hari Raya in advance if I don't see you. Right? Thank you very much again, Kila, for
All right. Thank you so much.
moderating the session, and thank you everyone for spending time with us today at this webinar. Thank you. See you again. Yeah, all the best in your test if you're taking it soon. Okay? Yeah. Bye.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Encik Razif, you can. Where's the link? Where's the attendance link? Okay, there. Can just fill in the attendance link for the training hours. Yeah.
Again, thank you very much. Hope to see you in UiTM Kedah. Don't know when. Yeah. Bye bye.